talk about breasts.
Let's talk about you and me
Let's talk about all the good things.
and all the bad things.
Welcome to episode 80 of BoobTube Podcast. I'm your best friend, Jaleesa, and I'm here with a special episode in honor of the World Cup. So you're probably wondering, why are the men wearing sports bras on the field? But before we get into it, let's take BoobTube on the move.
What do you think is the largest cup size for sports bras?
Like an extra large.
Okay. What do you think is the largest cup size for sports bras?
Like a G? I think I've seen a G before.
Okay.
For a sports bra?
Well, maybe not a sports bra. Oh, like maybe XX? Okay, because they don't go by cup size, right, for sports bras?
Not necessarily. Sometimes they do, but what would you think the
Like a
biggest?
triple XL.
Triple XL. Okay.
Yeah.
That would go. What do you think is the largest cup size for sports bras?
Oh, like an extra large.
Okay. What cup size you think fits into an extra large?
Probably like a double D. Maybe.
Okay.
What do the letters go up to for bra sizes?
G, right?
No right or wrong answer.
G, I think.
All right, we're going with G. What do you think is the largest cup size for bras?
I have no idea.
For sports bras?
Sports bra.
Yeah.
Non-custom?
Oh, the
I
biggest
guess
I know
like-
is triple D.
Triple D?
I think that's the
I'm about to
biggest.
say that's about as big as I can think. I mean, I don't see.
Yeah, triple D. I think it's
Yeah, it's sports.
now without being custom.
Yeah, that's what she said. Without,
Yeah, I mean,
like,
yeah,
you just
yeah.
go to the store and just grab it. I would imagine
Oh, yeah,
double,
triple.
maybe triple.
Okay. What do you think is the largest cup size for sports bras?
Zero, because sports bras and cup sizes don't even go together. If you tell someone what your cup size is, they'll just be like, okay, extra, extra large sports bra. What is that? How is the sports bra extra, extra large? Like, don't get me started on that. Don't even get me started on that.
So those are some perspectives about sports bras from people who aren't playing professional soccer. But let's talk about what's going on with the people who are playing professional soccer, specifically at the World Cup currently. So it turns out that they are not sports bras, although they do resemble what would be a sports bra for a man. They are vests and they have GPS trackers in them so that their speed can be traced/tracked, and so that their health can be monitored as well, and some other factors. So let's dig into exactly what they are. So they're called GPS performance tracking vests, and they wear them under their jerseys, as you may have seen some of them when they took off their jerseys, which might have been a pretty sight. Just saying. Okay. And what it does is there's a GPS tracking device that's positioned between the shoulder blades. There's also a piece on the back, and they collect data such as distance covered, sprinting speed, number of sprints, acceleration and deceleration, heart rate data, and their workload and fatigue. So this helps them to monitor fitness levels, prevent injuries, manage recovery, plan training loads, and analyze tactical performance. So their coaches and staff are able to use this information to know when they might need to get pulled out of a game, when they seem as if they play longer, they might have an injury. They can also see how fast they're going, how fast they are decelerating, things of that nature. So they're able to use this data to plan accordingly as it regards the games. So the design of this vest allows for the tracking device to stay stable when the the players are running, jumping, colliding, etc. So that is why it's designed to be where it is. So when you see broadcasts that talk about the top speed or the top distance run, That is coming from these GPS tracking devices that they're wearing under their clothes. So there's also a spot on the back that's a bit of a little lump, and that's the computer. So it's a small pocket between the shoulder blades, holds a device weighing only a few dozen grams. It contains GPS accelerometers, that's a word, gyroscopes, did I say that correctly? I don't know. And sometimes a magnetometer. Magnetometer. Did I say that right? These are all similar to sensors in a smartphone, but designed for elite sports, as you say. So they can record movements many times per second. They can tell the difference between running 10 kilometers and having a hard 10 kilometers. So basically, if someone is running and stopping and cover the distance of 10 kilometers versus if someone is just sprinting and going hard for 10 kilometers straight, maybe, like a sprint. And this allows them to know if a player needs to be substituted before they may feel exhausted as well. So if they see a declining performance or some exhaustion and see that there could possibly be an injury, that's when they would substitute based on the data provided in these vests. And the goalkeepers wear them too, although they do a lot less running, but it still is able to capture data from explosive dives, jumps, and lateral movements that are important for their position. And they're still able to measure those same things that they can measure for the other players with that vest. This data monitors training, and they use it even more in training than they do in the games, so they can make sure that players are not under or overtrained. And also, they analyze this data so that it is specific for each player, so they know each player's norms and what is abnormal for them as well. And they also use this information to settle debates. They no longer have to debate about who worked harder or who didn't. They are able to collect this data easily from these vests. And versions of these systems are now used by college teams, youth academies, and even amateur clubs. Some consumer wearables offer simplified versions for recreational athletes. So the vest can also measure tactical data, such as how compact a team's defensive shape stayed, whether players maintained their assigned positions, no offsides, how quickly a team transitioned from defense to attack, and which passing lanes opened and closed throughout the match. So I can see how this information or this data is useful for the soccer players, as well as their coaches and trainers and all the rest of the staff. So now I want to get into how the players have responded to them. They are alleging that they're surprisingly comfortable. That's what they say, and that it is made from a stretchy, moisture-wicking fabric and is designed so the tracker stays firmly in place without bouncing during a sprint. So it sounds like us women had to crawl so that they could walk. Or is it walk so that they could run? We'll say that we had to walk so they can run, since they do a lot of running in soccer. Back and forth like a soccer team, that's what they said. Okay, so these vests started to appear in soccer in the late 2000s and early 2010s. And some players were, of course, skeptical. And some of the common concerns included the comfort. How will it feel? Of course. They worried that it would rub against their skin, restrict movement, or feel bulky. Sounds like a sports bra. Sounds like some of the concerns that women have about their sports bras. They were concerned about some privacy as far as who would have the data, and they were concerned about it being a distraction by adding another piece of equipment for them to run with, and some didn't really like that. Some of the players tend to like the fact that it provides injury prevention, recovery management, performance feedback, and evidence of effort. So it can work in their favor for some things. And while the players have made some jokes about it being a sports bra, even though they all know that it's performance vest, they have overall decided that they are comfortable and lightweight and capable of being worn under their jerseys without any issues. And it feels a lot like compression gear. So it doesn't really bother them. Again, it still sounds like a sports bra though. And that's nice. I wonder if they feel like their pectoral muscles are not moving around as they run because they have the vest on. I wonder if they feel that type of restriction or support. Maybe not, let me not say restriction, but just saying that type of support that's keeping them from bouncing as much as they would. But we know that they don't have the same type of body fat as us women up there. And they run so much, they are incapable of gaining so much body fat if they tried. Now, while they're okay with the comfort of the vest, some have other concerns regarding the data, such as who owns the data, how long is it stored, who can access it, and how secure is it. Some of them worry that some of this data can be provided to others to where players might get different offers than they normally would have without the vest. Some of them wonder basically if the data can be used against them, while others are okay with the data being used in their favor. They know that, if it's showing high performance and everything, then they can get better offers, better deals. But for some, it could work in the opposite way, and some players don't like that. So let's talk about just who owns this data. And the club often collects and stores the data because it pays for the tracking system and sports science staff. The player is the source of the data, especially when it relates to their physical condition or health. So privacy and employment laws may give them important rights. The technology company usually owns the software platform, but not necessarily the player's underlying data. And the league or the tournament organizer may have access to certain tracking data for broadcast, officiating, and analytics. That makes it a little controversial. Again, a coach might use it to reduce training load and prevent an injury, but an insurance company might see it as a higher injury risk. A prospective buyer might lower or transfer an offer because of the data. A general manager might view it as evidence that a player is declining. A medical staff member may use it to guide rehabilitation. So it has its pros and its cons, but I can understand why some are a little bit concerned about how it could negatively impact them. But we know that there's no impact from the pecs while they run because they are supported. Sometimes this data can be used as medical data, which makes sense. And what we're seeing now is that a lot of clubs and different organizations that the soccer teams are under are treating this information like sensitive personal information as well. So they've put some things in place to govern how this information is stored, how long it's stored, who has access to it, etc. So I'm sure with time it'll get better with that, as it still is a newer thing that they're doing. The late 2000s, early 2010s isn't too old. Definitely not as old as the World Cup. So they got to get there. The vests were originally designed so that the player does not feel it while they are performing. And if so, that's considered a poor design if they are able to feel it. So that was one of the main design goals. And again, in the earlier stages, some felt like it's weird and they felt a little self-conscious because of how it looked on them. And also another factor was wearing it in the heat and how that might feel to have that extra layer of clothing on. And they were concerned that it might shift around or rub on their skin. God forbid y'all have a little chafing, a little under boob sweat, a little mark under your breast from a heat rash or some fungus from the heat. How would y'all act? Would you know what to do? So again, by now they just feel like it's compression gear, and they do feel supported, but not necessarily in the way that a sports bra would provide support. And it says that the vest is not designed to support muscles or reduce movement, but I do wonder if they still feel like less movement from their pecs, like I said. Um, the purpose is to simply hold the tracking unit firmly against the upper back so the sensors can collect accurate data. Guess that's the only place they could put it. I guess it makes sense to put it there. And some say they do like the secure compression feel, but that's more of a side effect than the intent. And as far as players disliking them, the ones that do, it's because of the extra layer in hot conditions, minor chafing if the fit isn't quite right, bra fitting, even for the men, even though it's a vest. Vest fitting, but I'm sure they have to use basically the same type of measuring to make sure that it accurately fits the male's body up here. And feeling like they're constantly being measured or evaluated. So, of course, that part isn't physical, that's more of a mental thing. Interestingly enough, rugby players also wear similar tracking vests as well, and they have a lot more physical contact. And they feel that that's a testament to how supportive and durable and effective these vests are for the players. So that makes sense. If it can work for them, then of course it'll work for soccer players, football players. Let me not be so American. So while the world is watching the World Cup, you may have wondered exactly why these men are wearing sports bras, and they're not really sports bras. But I just wanted you to be able to hear it here at the Boob Tube, where we're going to talk about all these breast related things, even if they're on men. So I hope that this was informative for you. And now you know that they are not sports bras, they are vests that have GPS tracking devices in them. So we hope you've been enjoying the World Cup, but also that you've enjoyed BoobTube even more than the World Cup, of course. Be sure to tune in for future episodes. You can also shop different World Cup teas on our website, boobtubepodcast.net. And there are other items there as well. So be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know your thoughts while we go through the World Cup. Stay tuned for more from BoobTube. Thanks for 80 episodes. Cheers to that. And I will see you next time. Adios.